Yes, I wonder if Elon's at it again. I can't get a signal here. Content is not available, but they'll load it. So I'm going to make as if I'm talking to everyone. Anyway, what's up? What's up? Let's get this going. There's a disclosure. Listen to a little Queen radio today. Hope everyone's feeling well. My name is Scott Redler. I am the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com. Welcome to today's 6:30 Club. It is Thursday. It's been a week. Feels like this week went by pretty fast. Hope everyone's doing well. And let's get to it. Before we get going, let's see if I could say some hellos to some of my dogs around the world. For some reason it's not coming in. So I'm not being rude. I don't see you. But you get to see me, and we'll get to it. So some guys like, hey, Red Dog, I understand there's a rotation going on. You said last Thursday, Friday that we should get into some of the small caps, the DIA, the XBI. Some guys went with the financials. But, it looked like tech was going to hang around. And then yesterday, they hit it pretty hard. So does that mean we have a top in tech? You'll probably see that on CNBC or, a lot of the networks. Is it Toppy Tech or whatever it is? But anyway, you can't call it a top, but you could say, hey, pretty potent move to the downside. First time in a little while. At least you had ways to reduce risk. I know I reduced some risk in a lot of different spots. Was able to sell some strength. And then as things started to roll over and went from a trickle to, I wouldn't quite say a waterfall, but pretty potent to the downside. I did reduce risk so I could see some market discovery and be a little bit more tactical. We've had a really big move. I think a lot of traders, I know for me, it was a big month, and I don't want to give it back. So when you don't want to give it back, you don't give it back. Anyway, so with that being said, here's the Qs. So the Qs was building a bit of a bull flag. If you were in the Qs for a move to the upside by holding 353, yesterday was your out. All week long, I've showed you the alpha team, and I've showed you how I've been selling Qs. I've been selling premium. A lot of people are like, what's that mean, Red Dog? Well, if you sell strikes higher without owning it, you're shorting premium. You want it to go down so you get to keep the premium and make money. Some guys like to buy puts, some hedge by being short. For me, I was like, I'm going to sell some premium higher. And I did it all week. For a week, I've been selling premium higher, and it's helped me, A, hold on to some of my longs, and B, say, hey, let's see if it's kind of still not coming in. I could make money to the downside also. So now what? What do we know? 348.20 is yesterday's low. All we did is test the 8-day. That's how extended we were. You had a big move like that, like a 1.2% move to the downside, and all we did is get to the 8-day. You could even get to the the 21-day and still be bullish. But again, when you're an active trader, you don't want to get caught in a down move like that because that can be painful. That's what the Qs look like. Just so here's this spot, and then again, this is your August high. Look how elevated the Qs were above last August high, and then you go to the SPYs, not even there. So it just shows you the outperformance that that tech has. So sometimes you need to, like, the reversion to the mean type scenario, which is what happened yesterday. So with that said, the SPYs are still in this bull type flag, but the question is if tech continues to go lower, will the small caps and energy and this and that be able to keep the SPYs elevated, or do they get to the SPYs too? So here's 426. 426 is a key. Right now, if you look at the SPYs, it's above it. We're at 427, up 50 cents, no downside follow through. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Say, does it hold here or does it break? If it breaks, this low here is like what's this low here? 423.95, and that's also where you have the 8-day and where you have this gap. This gap was I don't remember what caused this gap. I think maybe it was NVIDIA. Either which way, here's a little bit of a closer up look. Can this bull type flag stay intact for one more move towards the 430s, which is the high from last week? I bet you we won't know that until next week. Why next week? Because next week you have the CPI, which inflation will be a focus. Are we still in disinflation, which is what the Fed wants, which is what we all want. We all want lower prices for in the grocery store, at the pump, and in the airlines. But anyway, so to me, does this hold and go sideways while tech, digest, comes in, and other sectors take the ball? And can we continue, or does it break? We'll see. All I know is, I showed you guys the IWM, and some guys made really good money in some of the small caps themselves, some in the IWM themselves. All in all, if you remember, I posted this yesterday, I don't know, somewhere around 8:45, saying I think the IWM could see 192 to 199. You had a nice move here, okay, where it broke above this wedge or lower wedge, whatever you want to call this type pattern. And some guys went with options, some played the IWM, some played stocks within the IWM. Anyway, so what did we hit? We hit a high of 187.77. The IWM this morning is up 50 cents, a little bit upside follow through, not a whole hell of a lot. I would trim, day count rules. Day 1, day 2, day 3. You always want to be trimming on day 3, not adding. Just that's the way you net money. As far as the banks, just moving along, broke above this inside wedge also. Maybe you could see the 200-day, maybe not. Anyway, so there was some rotation. Sometimes it's good when the market broadens out, so this way there's more participation, but then you better be there ready to switch gears. Some guys are like, hey, do I think the top in NVIDIA is in? It's way too early to tell. But again, when you're in this type of phase, you don't want to be overly long because it's hard to hold and your P&L goes lower and blah, blah, blah. All in all, though, you could see how you had ways to navigate. This was your gap up after earnings. By the way, we made a 5 times on our options into earnings. That was great. You had a topping tail, right, 419. Then you had a lower high. Okay, and then again, another lower high. So lower high, lower high, lower high. It's showing you that it's, it's just a tricky time to be long NVIDIA as an active market participant. If we opened lower today, it would have been nice because you probably could have been able to buy a dip to go red to green. That's a tactical way to make money without sitting in things for years. But so if you look here, here's NVIDIA. It's up $4. So if you went home short NVIDIA because of the way it closed, you probably have to play through it a little bit. If you were waiting for a down open because like, hey, I think NVIDIA is going to hold this 366. It's just not the setup. So what do you know? 373.56 is yesterday's low. Here is the gap pivot from earnings, very important. Does it want to fill this gap or does it continue to hold this gap, and digest for better action another time? Here's 381. So where would you say, hey, where do you think an H cell setup could happen? I would wait for 381. So this is right now at 378. So we're 379-ish. So that would be, if the sellers want to stay in control, they probably reject price somewhere over there. So we'll see. What's AMD? AMD's up 40 cents. So this is not a great setup in my humble opinion. Tech kind of closed on the lows. If we would have had downside follow through, it would have been better to probably be able to buy for a red to green trade. Now that things are opening up a little bit, chances are maybe some sellers come back to take these things from green to red. And if you're good at shorting things, maybe that's your play for today. What are the boys? China's yeah, they're trying to support China. China right now, China Tech is on 3-month lows, by the way. Their reopen is not so great. Tesla still is one of the better names out there. Today's the first day I come in not long Tesla. I have a bunch of options on. I have a big 420 by 430 call spread still, but I also sold 437.50s and 427.50s, to try and be cute. Ultimately, though, this still looks like it can continue to the upside. It hit 230.83 yesterday. A little digestion would make sense now, right? The 8 days all the way down here. So when the 8 day is far from where the price is, it's hard for it to be sustained. Right now, Tesla is up $1. So we'll see what happens here. For me, what I think is the best setup is if it could, right now it's a 425.60. If it could do a little work above 423.21, go sideways, digest, and then continue. But we'll see. If it breaks below 223.21, chances are it could do some downside probing. You actually even have a little gap to fill, but not a big one. But ultimately, I would think this 214 to 217 now should hold, to keep this trend intact. It's been really nice. I made a lot of money in Tesla the last 3-4 weeks because why? It reclaimed this 169.76. I was in it pretty much a swing trade from 170 to 230. So what is that? 60 points for a swing trade. Some traders like Red Dog, I have a problem, keeping stock overnight, let alone holding it for multiple weeks for 60 points and 3 different call spreads. Well, hopefully I helped you hold it and profit from it and learn something. So maybe you could do it next time you find something that's trading in a good active sequence. As far as Apple's concerned, it's also pretty important. I told you guys about the importance of 182.94, which was the all-time high. We went through it and couldn't hold it on event day. Sometimes they try and sell event day, and they did. And now what? It's choppy. It's still fine. It's playing with the 8-day. It's getting a little loose and wide because people aren't sure. So I'm being very tactical here. This was your pro earnings gap where this was another nice swing trade on top of swing trades where we reduced. And now I'm just trying to figure out, can I tactically make money trading it, or do I avoid it, or does it drag down tech? 3 questions, right? You always have multiple questions in your head about certain things to pertain to the action. Well, at this point now, the low is 177.32. It is above that. There's a gap here of 176. Here is a trend line that's been intact ever since breaking above this spot, which was a really good trade. So it's still just fine in corrective mode, and then we need to see, can it rebuild? Sometimes when things are in corrective mode, they stay there for a while. Sometimes they rebuild fast and get going again. At this point, I'm in no rush. I got my iced coffee, chilling out. It's been a really good multiple week active sequence. And now when you have, some, reversion to the mean, and you have some rotation, you have this, you have that, you're better off being a little slower and a little bit more careful, which is what I'm trying to do. What else is going on? Yeah, I made a little bit of money with XBI. We went over that. Not a barn burning trade, but figured, hey, maybe it could play some catch up, and we were buying it underneath here. Nice little move. All you can look for is little moves. Boeing's a pain in the arse, but it's still hanging out here in this channel. Okay, it went loose and wide on the, whatever that news was the other day. But, it still looks just fine. Maybe at some point it gets above that. Some of the little guys, like a plug, like I said, starting to look a little bit better. Maybe there's some room. A lot of these broken names might have some room to the 200-day. So there's like little trades like that. But ultimately, I feel like, some of the big dogs are in a little bit of a corrective mode. I got stopped out of Google yesterday. Google, look at this candle. This is pretty sloppy. This is, you could have sold. Okay, first of all, I come up with some terms, right? I'm going to explain it right now because sometimes, everyone's like, Red Dog, I'm not your wife where, you could say something and I can interpret it and know what you're saying. You got to explain it. Well, she doesn't really know it when I give her a look either. We have to talk. You have to communicate in a relationship. Anyway, when I'm like, you have to get above and stay above if you think something's going to go higher. So if you thought Google was going to get to 130, 131, because that's where one of your targets were, what did it do? It got above 128.90 and couldn't hold it. So if you added to it for that, you had to take off that tier. If you were long it from last week like I was, and it got above and couldn't hold it, maybe you then sell some because there's not enough strength to get above another level. And then if all of a sudden it goes red, it's not strong enough to stay green, maybe you sell a little bit because who knows where it goes. And then if it breaks below a prior low, it's showing you downside power, then you could either exit the position and then wait, or some people get short. And then what did it do? It came all the way down to 122.13. What's Google doing this morning? It's probably up a little bit with everything else. It's up a whole 24 cents. So now for me, I've been very active with Google, very active. Ever since, right now it's at 122.74, so it's right here. Since this spot, I've been very active. Now, after a move like this and a big candle like this, the question is, how long is it going to take to negate the meaning of that candle and the ugliness of that candle? You don't know. But at this point, I'm going to be tactical and wait. Maybe, right around here, which is the 21-day, that could be an opportunity to buy some back. But ultimately, I think it's going to need time again. Microsoft actually led the move lower. It was down $4. I'm like, wow, they haven't let Microsoft be down $4 in a day in a while. And that was early on. So that gave me some clues. Oh, now Google's losing momentum. Oh, now Apple doesn't look so good. Oh, so, you connect the dots throughout the course of a morning. It might be able to save you some money in the afternoon. So now with Microsoft, also look at that. if you were playing for it to hold up here and go, well, the trade changed. When the trade changes, that's when you change. Doesn't mean it's a bear market and Microsoft's going down 20%, but it's been stair-stepping higher, and this is the first time you really had a harsh break in a while. So now the question is, what's next? We'll see. Now 322.50 is yesterday's low. Maybe you get a red dog reversal. It plays with it and gives you a little bottom tail, and then it takes some time to then penetrate back into that candle or not. It could come all the way back down to this area where it broke out from. This is like 312-ish, and here there's a gap. So there's a lot of things that could happen now. But what did happen is they shook the tree up and changed the trade a little bit. So instead of sitting in size and massaging it to the upside, maybe you have less and you're in more wait and see mode. So I think we're in wait and see mode for tech. We're also trying to figure out can the SPYs hold this upper area without tech? Can energy and all those things do a little bit better? We'll see. Next week's important. Next week you have the Fed on Wednesday, CPI on Tuesday. So sometimes they pull things back ahead of that. So if you've been in a gazillion positions and now you're in a lot less, then you know what? Do a little less. You'll make a little less, but you also don't have as much on the line to give back that you've worked really hard for the past multiple weeks. So anyway, I wish I had more for you. At this point, I'd say this is key active support to see if it holds. And like I said before, the Qs broke this upper area, but all it did is come into the 8-day, so it's still part of this trend. So maybe it just plays with this, gives you a little bit of a red dog reversal. Like, wouldn't it be interesting if it just did one of these where it comes in a little bit, goes below the prior low, and does a little bit of a red dog reversal right into this spot, and then all of a sudden it just takes its time to rebuild. Rebuilding happens. After this move, it took a while to rebuild before going again. So now maybe we have another upper area to see how that goes. Anyway, it's 6:49. It's Thursday. Thanks for tuning in. I wish I had more for you. Some guys like, Red Dog, you were so wrong on UPST yesterday. I wasn't wrong. I just said, let's see if you can get above and stay above 32. If it could squeeze more. What happened? It went above, couldn't hold it, so you get out of the way. Now look at it. Just saying, it tried and it didn't work, right? It tried to get above this spot here. It tried to show some momentum, but the sellers had control. So what did I do? I came in long UPST yesterday. I tried to add through 32. It only went to as high as 32.50. Couldn't really get going. When it went back below 32, you get out of what you added. And then once it went red, I was done with it. That's it. Okay, that's how you deal with levels, and that's how you make your decisions. If it gets above and stays above, that's another story. Instead, it didn't. And now, see what's next here. It might be over. This active sequence might be over. See how it goes. If it breaks this, there's a whole lot of room to this side. And that's what I mean by a signal. That's what I mean by reading the market. That's what I mean by using your levels to give you data on what you should be doing, adding to things, taking things off, or leaving things or getting short. Anyway, I just wanted to follow that up because guys were mad at me. Like, you said, this thing was going higher. I'm like, I didn't say it was going higher. I said it's been in an active sequence above the 8-day. There's a big short interest. Can it get above and stay above 32.02? It went to 32.50 and then failed. So it told you it wasn't strong enough to stay above it. So what did you do? You should have adjusted, not bought the whole way down and lose a lot of money. This is what you call a red dog reversal sell. Here, a red dog reversal buy, went below and came above it, but just a whole lot of choppiness. Anyway, good luck today, guys. I'll be in touch. We'll see how it goes. I would think a quietish type day, maybe. Maybe we'll have an inside day. Maybe they'll try and press tech a little bit. Some of these things will go green to red, and then we'll see how it goes, or not. I'm not very excited about today. I'm in more of like, I'm going to sit back and just see if something shows its face, and then I might trade it or I might not. I don't have a lot going on here. Actually, like, you look at my alpha team here, I have a lot less. I don't know how it happened, but I have plug-in F-cell on from 2 days ago, but the small caps were moving. I have a little XBI left over. I have a little Jets left over, and I still have this Tesla 220 by 230 call spread, but I did sell some 227s and 237s to try and lock it in and be extra cute. And I also sold some 222 puts, just in case went higher. So I'm playing around here. I have some diamond calls on still. This was really good. It's IEP. We bought it last week. So, again, but yesterday I came in, I had Google, I had Tesla stock on, I had, I think, a little bit of Apple, and today's a little bit different. And then tomorrow will be different than it is this morning, probably, depending on how things go today. Have multiple plans, wait for the market to give you clues to adjust. Feed the brain so you can see clearly and execute with confidence when the market shows you the signal that you're going to act on. Later, guys.